Having spent a wonderful evening at Fraser Range, an evening that was full of snakes, camels and the wild, wild west of the Australian outback and the Nullarbor, we then saddled up the next morning to head for the Madura Pass, which involved another run across more Nullarbor. This time we had a little bit of weather thrown in.
More precipitation today?
Yes.
Keep the dust down.
Yeah, keep the dust down. Kangaroos all stay in bed then too, and the emus and bloody camels and everything else.
Just dribble. That's my bet.
I reckon you're pretty close. But I reckon there's a chance that we could run into a thunderstorm late in the day if we're a bit late.
Okay.
I've been looking at the wiggly lines and we may get a thunderstorm.
There we go. We've already marked out the ones that aren't running.
Okay, thank you.
Now tell me you're leading the troop.
It's only a third of the way through, so leading now is not, it's only he who leads at the end is the only one that matters.
That's right. How's the bike? Just chugging a bit?
Had a few challenges, but we're getting along all right. We're probably the slowest bike here, but that's all right, I can handle that.
How are you flying, Doctor?
Going well. Big day today, huge day. They say it's going to rain, but then they're telling me I may not. So I've got all the wet weather gear on. I'm boiling hot. I'm sure that when I get a bit of wind in the face, it'll be great. So thanks everyone for supporting us. See you at the end.
Alright, where we go?
Riding old bikes is a completely different world to riding a modern bike. If anyone says they're bored riding across the country on an old bike, they're not doing it right. Quite simply, you've got to be tuned into your machine the whole time. Your machine is talking to you. And you've got to be listening. You've got to be listening for what that rattle is. What is that bang? You've got to be making sure the thing's still running the way it should be running. It's either singing to you or it's talking to you. It's one or the other. Those things take a lot of preoccupation in your mind. It takes up a bit of bandwidth to know things are going on. Oh, a noise. What is that noise? Because this is not a race. This is a long distance event. It's hard on the machine. It's hard on the person riding the machine. If you're not tuned in that machine the whole time, you're not going to make it.
Howdy, howdy.
Of course, fuel's cheap out here, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. $2.60 a litre.
Jesus, there's a pump there not getting used.
Should have played golf.
Boy, this is much better. I'm shit at golf. No, my luck in this weather, I'd get hit by lightning.
Of the places that we stopped, to have 200 people land on a town with one service station and one or two people behind the counter, of course it's going to take an hour to get served if you're at the end of the queue. I carried 25 litres of fuel for most of the way myself, even if we didn't need it. So if I got to a servo and it looked like I was full, I just filled up out of my container and kept going. And I don't blame the servo for that, it's just the way it is in these country towns.
The rain, yeah, the relentless rain. It started about an hour after the run started out of Busselton, and I think we had probably 11 or 12 days out of the 14 days that it rained at some point during the day. Some days clearly a lot heavier than others. We had to plod through it. The Indians don't particularly like the rain, to be honest with you. They tend to suck a lot of the water in through the electronics. So you notice after the first day, everybody had a 1 litre water bottle cut in half, upside down, taped over the distributors. It just keeps the water out of it, makes them a lot easier to start.
The weather was a bit of a double-edged sword. We set off at a time when Australia was essentially in flood. We were fortunate in that we really didn't hit floods ourselves. We managed to find a hole in the weather. Had we gone a week or two earlier, we would have copped it. Had we gone a week or two later, we would have copped it. The good grace of God, we were given this wonderful window to come across Australia. Yes, we did counter some rain. Crossing the Nullarbor in rain, and a green Nullarbor at that, was quite an amazing experience.
The scenery just changed all the time, but to do with the wet weather and the highway, it was very tricky if you had a truck or a road train or a caravan. Whether they were coming at you or whether you were catching up to them. The spray drift was unbelievable that you couldn't see. And in fairness to the truck drivers and road train drivers, because we spoke with them, they said that they couldn't see their second trailer. So if they were coming at you, that second semi-trailer part, you were just holding your breath and keeping your eyes open.
Madura Pass got interesting that day because we were there mostly at the checkpoints for about 2 hours. We needed to be there while all the bikes got through.
Thunder, lightning, flies. In hindsight, we stayed out there too long. It was scary in the end, but the bikes came in at a relevant pace. I would have enjoyed the thunderstorm if I hadn't been standing out in it.
Today's ride to Madura Pass was 426 kilometres. We still had 64 riders in the event and 38 finished with 4 points. Chris Wells continues to lead the pack.
Madura Oasis is a really interesting place. You have effectively 2 plains in Australia. You've got the high plain where Ayers Rock is, and that goes all the way across the top of Australia. Once you get to Madura Pass, it actually is a pass, and you get this amazing view looking out over the coastal plain and the desolate desert of the coastal plain. And right at the very top there is accommodation, a roadhouse. So that's where we stayed, and once again people were able to get a nice meal and get fuel and get some accommodation. And they were not open to the public for quite a while, so it was an interesting stop.
Is that dinner, is it?
New gearbox.